you don't need to copy down anything in black. Okay, just copy down the focus question to start. And we're just going to kind of go over, because I want to review just all the build up to this American Revolution, because where we last left off in the video of the shot heard around the world, like, American Revolution is starting. So what exactly does that mean and what's going on here? All right, so let's get started. So first off, I just want to mention something. Tomorrow, class 8A1, I have you first period. It's going to be a little hectic because it's going to be the first day you're obviously getting to school. I am 99% sure you'll be in Mr. Peduzzi's room, which will be room 413. I would suggest getting to school before 8 a.m., 7:50, 7:55. The reason is there's a little bit of a line outside. I am starting class at 8:30. I know some of you will, maybe walking up the stairs a little bit late because you got online late. So I'm encouraging you to get there if you're class 8A1 early to make sure, because I got to start right on time. Tomorrow's a very important lesson. We're going to go into the Declaration of Independence, which is a huge topic on the Regents. And even if it is the first day, we still have to, go through what we have to get through. So just please keep that in mind. Please make every effort to be there, as on time as possible. There will be a line outside. There'll be a temperature check. There'll be a thing you may have to fill out. So try and be there early so you can get there on time. Remember, you get to leave before 2 o'clock. So, it's not as long of a school day as you're probably used to. All right, so I just wanted to say that. So let's go through the focus question. Where did the founding fathers get the ideas of the Declaration of Independence? And it's our focus today before we go into the actual Declaration of Independence, because what you'll notice is the ideas that we kind of take from and write in the Declaration of Independence aren't made up. They come from certain areas, and it's a big thing for us to understand. All right. First, we need to understand where this buildup of colonial anger against Great Britain really came from. Okay, so let's go over a couple of things. Let's go back through the steps of last week of why we're now about to fight in a revolution and independence from Great Britain, okay? So we did the first thing, right? There was this movement away from the salutary neglect period, and the British went back to strict mercantilism, so this was a huge problem. Then they came up with this proclamation line establishing, saying that, colonists can't move westward. This is all a review from last week. Then Britain starts to tax the colonists on goods, and that tax is going to go pay back the debt from the French and Indian War. We know the tax didn't really upset them. It was simply the taxation without representation, started to get the colonists a lot more angry. Then the Quartering Act, okay, we had a lot of British soldiers. They were forced to live in people's homes. Then the Boston Massacre, people saw the newspaper clippings of the massacre of of the 5 colonists that were shot by the British, and pretty much said that the British savagely killed these people, which we know may have not been necessarily true, but that was the narrative. The Tea Act, okay, was still in place. So then we got into the Boston Tea Party, which then the Britain goes in response, passes the Intolerable Acts, which really just treats the colonists like little children, all right, which leads to the First Continental Congress, which eventually leads to the shot heard around the world. So this was the buildup of anger. I mean, this was not one event, okay? The last event, the straw that broke the camel's back, as I love to say, was the shot heard around the world. Once that happens, we officially start the American Revolutionary War. But it was a buildup of things. It was 10 to 12 years of all these laws passed by King George III that became really important. So before we go into the actual battles, before we go into the actual Declaration of Independence, we almost need to go back in history a little bit and kind of see where do we get these ideas from the Declaration of Independence from. And now, if you're like most people, and like my wife is a great example, she still gets the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution confused, and she's a lot older than you guys. So it's okay to get the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution confused, but we need to really start to separate the two, because there are some similarities, but overall they are 2 completely different documents, okay? So just generally, the Declaration of Independence, which you'll learn tomorrow, was our declaration to Great Britain that we want to become an independent country. All right, we're going to go over it all tomorrow, but where do we get these ideas from? So in 10th grade, you are going to learn about, and you guys can copy down what's in red, you guys are going to learn about a period called the Enlightenment. Okay? The period of the Enlightenment was an interesting period, but it was an extremely impactful period, especially for the American colonists, and we'll kind of go through why. So let's go way back in history. Let's go to 1100, the year 1100. Pretty much people in the world had no particular types of freedom. They either had to listen to a king or they had to listen to a god/religion. People were not really, at the time, told to think for themselves. They were kind of told how to think. And I know that doesn't seem too crazy, but picture not being told to learn things on your own. Picture being told to make judgments for yourself. Picture being told, like, this is how it is, and this is how you have to live your life. All right, so people were told how to live their life, and people were told how to do. But then there was this period in the 1600s and 1700s, which is right in the time area which we're talking about, the American Revolution, where there's going to be a term called the Enlightenment. And what happened was people started to question the government. People started to question the church, right? And people were encouraged to think for themselves and question, what is the government doing for us? Are they really protecting us? Are they doing what's right for us? Is the church really doing what's right for us? Are there really, divine beings such as God, right? So this was a period of time where people started to question a lot of things, right? Now, like anything else, there's going to be people in the country. This mask example is a good example, right? There's people in the country that will wear a mask no matter where they go, and then there's people that will fight against it. Our nature as a society is to either be obedient or to be disobedient. And so many people prior to the Enlightenment were obedient. If they went against the king, they were thrown in jail. But we have this new idea starting to develop, and we have what's called these philosophers and thinkers start to come into play around the world. Okay? Some of the most famous Enlightenment thinkers that you need to know for this class, the biggest one is John Locke. We'll do a reading on him shortly. He's by far the biggest. Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Baron de Montesquieu. Locke is known for his influence on the Declaration of Independence. Montesquieu will be on the Constitution. Okay? Now, you probably remember limited stuff, but you probably remember from 7th grade last year, right? Checks and balances, right? Where do we get this idea of checks and balances? Well, look at this quote from Baron de Montesquieu, one of his books. It is necessary from the very nature of things that power should be checked to power, right? One power shouldn't be too strong. So we'll go into that, okay? John Locke, which you see here, a famous quote ends, wherever law ends, tyranny begins. Okay? Now, does anyone know what the word tyranny means? And maybe wants to put it in the chat, you can. All right, but tyranny is a huge word, okay, that has to do with what? I'll give everyone 30 seconds. Does anyone know what the word tyranny means? Because I think it's an important word to know, especially for the early part of American history. What does tyranny mean? Cruel or aggressive government. Yes, it's when a government is not treating their people correctly. So if Mr. Panio was being a tyrant over class 8, over class 801 essentially, I am someone that is acting unruly. Okay, I'm being cruel to you guys. I'm not doing the right thing, and I'm being aggressive towards you guys. So if a government acts aggressively towards old people, that is tyranny. Okay? So the Enlightenment believes a couple of things. And the first one is consent of the governed. Now, I really want to break down what this means, and you're going to see why this is an important thing. When you get consent, or you give consent, that's probably the better way to give it, you are giving your approval, okay? So consent of the governed. Right now, we are citizens of the United States. We are governed by the United States government, okay? The government should only be doing things through our consent, through what we want. If a government is not doing things through our consent, they are acting tyrannical. Okay, that would be the real educational big word. But essentially, everyone before the Enlightenment, no one was giving their consent on how they wanted to be governed. They were told by a king or they were told by the church how to succeed, okay, and how they should live their lives and how they should move about, okay? So these Enlightenment thinkers did not think, and it sounds weird, these Enlightenment thinkers did not think that we should be being told what to do by a king or a queen. They thought that the power of everything comes from the consent of the governed. In other words, comes from the people's choices. All right. So if in consent of the governed, you maybe want to have right next to it somewhere in your notebook, power of the people or power from the people. I wrote it in the chat for you guys because it's a really important thing to understand where our ideas come from. Okay. So this idea of the Enlightenment becomes very big in the writings of the Declaration of Independence. So our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, who's the big person who writes the Declaration of Independence, as you'll learn tomorrow, was essentially a student of John Locke. And when I mean a student, like he didn't go to class with him, but he followed all of his thinking, he followed all of his writings, and this is where our colonists are fed up, right? The king is telling them how to live their lives. Right? They're not given representation. They're not giving consent on how they're going to be taxed. They're not giving consent on the writs of assistance and the Quartering Act. You understand? So they were really upset on how this all kind of broke down. All right? So when they start hearing things from the Enlightenment and start hearing how people should be thinking for themselves and questioning things, that's what our founding fathers start to do. All right? This is the last slide. You need to copy down everything. I know some things are in blue, some things are in green, some things are in red. But the way I did it was to break down the two major ideas that John Locke in his thinking and philosophy came up with. And there's something you guys probably, one of which you already understand, the second of which not so much. So let's break down these two terms. So John Locke came up with the ideas of natural rights and the social contract theory. And the Declaration of Independence is written referring to these types of things, these two types of things, okay? So let's start with natural rights. So natural rights are rights that every human being should have, no matter who you are, where you are, what color you are, what race you are. Now, our country has not always lived up to that expectations. We know African Americans did not have full rights. We knew women did not have full rights. Native Americans did not have full rights. But we've always worked towards that kind of credence in the Declaration of Independence, that life, liberty, okay, all of these things should be given to every single person, whether they are extremely rich, whether they're part of the church, whether they're a king, or whether they are just a normal human being living in an area. Every person has these natural rights, all right? No one should be enslaved, okay? No one should be killed without reason. All right, no one should be treated cruelly. All right, you should have, if you remember the lines from the Declaration of Independence, that there are inalienable rights. Among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They are getting that from John Locke. All right, so they're natural rights that every human being should have. All right, so John Locke has this idea that your rights are not given to you by the government. Your rights are natural. They're given to you by God, let's say, and then everyone has them. That's a really crazy thing back then, but something that we all understand today. Everyone has their rights no matter who you are. Okay, everyone has their identity. All right, so that is number one. Number two is the social contract theory. So it's an unwritten contract. So it's not something that's written down by law, but it's this general idea that the people are the ones responsible for making sure their government is working justly and fairly for them. If the government is not working well, is not doing the right thing, does anyone want to guess what you should do as a people? If your government's not working correctly, you should actually overthrow the government. I know that sounds really extreme, but if the government is not acting in the people's best interest and is acting what's best for the government should not be there for you. So if you have a king or a queen that's treating you fairly and justly, it's okay, Joshua. If you have a king or a queen that's treating everyone fairly and there's no issues and there's no problems, ladies and gentlemen, then the king's great to rule. That's a good leader. Okay, I'm not saying that all kings and monarchies and queens are bad. There's been plenty of good ones. But if a king is not acting on the best interest of the people, then you know what? It's time to get a new government, or it's time to get a new king, or it's time to get a new president. Okay, whatever the words are. Locke's ideas are most prevalent in the Declaration of Independence. So when we go into the Declaration of Independence, when we read it tomorrow, you're going to see things about natural rights. You're going to see about the social contract theory. So make sure you have your notes, especially tomorrow, because we will refer back to these to help you out. All right? Now, jumping ahead a little bit, it is a good time just to kind of come up with Baron de Montesquieu. He's more of our Enlightenment thinker for the Constitution. So when James Madison, he's the big, writer of the Constitution, when they write the Constitution, they're going to go on Baron de Montesquieu's beliefs. Now, these are people that, like John Locke and Montesquieu, they've lived in Europe. They've been dead for a while at this point, but their teachings and their philosophies were still very prevalent throughout society, and it's a lot of the uses that we would use in our country. So Montesquieu theorized that governments are best when powers are separated, and that kings and monarchs did more harm than good for society. So Montesquieu said that kings and queens suck, right? We don't need them, right? It's better to have governments that have power more separated equally, okay? You don't want to go into a school, and have Mr. Panio teach social studies, science, math, ELA, phys ed, and art, because only one of those six I'll be good at doing. I don't know everything. So I shouldn't be teaching you guys everything. The whole idea is that the king doesn't know everything in the world. You should have power separated because more people are going to be better at doing certain things than just this king or queen. Montesquieu's ideas are most prevalent in the U.S. Constitution. We will talk more about that when we get to the Constitution, which will be later on next week. But for now, we really need to know John Locke, and we need to know his ideas are going to be going into the Declaration of Independence, right? Before we can write the Declaration of Independence, where do you get this idea from? Okay, where does Thomas Jefferson, where does he kind of draw his ideas from? Because everyone, whether they're writing a thesis paper in college or someone's writing a book, they're learning something earlier in their life. And Thomas Jefferson and our founding fathers learned from John Locke. Okay? So, please write in the chat if you need more time to copy this down. I'll give everyone another 20 seconds. But we want to go on to the Regents question quick, and then we'll go into the reading and questions. You'll have plenty of time to do it. I don't think there's any reason why you won't be able to finish. Okay, so I'll give you guys to 10:42. All right, 2 full minutes to finish writing. Absolutely no rush. If you are done writing, you can just take a little mental break, close the eyes for a little bit, just don't fall asleep. Yeah, no, Abigail, go ahead. This is a perfect time to ask, actually. Good question, Abigail. So yes, you are encouraged and recommended to bring your devices to school when you go in person. If you don't, I'm 90% sure Mr. Baduzzi's room will have extra laptops, but as you'll see, you don't want to rely on that because sometimes they're not working, so it's just better, or some might not be available. So yes, bring your own stuff if you can. You're welcome. I give everyone another 30 seconds. And I guess I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't mention that tonight is the first presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Now, when I was your age, I could care less about the debates. As you get older, it's something you pay attention more to. But I do encourage you to watch it. You probably won't understand all aspects of it. It's something that after you take this class, I think you'll understand more things like foreign policy and healthcare reform and things like that. But if you guys have time tonight and want to throw it on, I don't think it's the worst thing to have on. But that is tonight. I don't know the time, actually. Let me look that up quick. I think it's 8 o'clock. There are 3 debates usually. So there'll be 3 debates between Trump and Biden. Let's see the time tonight. I'm definitely going to watch it. But the debate is set for 9 p.m. and is set to last 90 minutes. So probably from like 9 p.m. to 10:30. A little bit past my bedtime, but whatever. We'll make it work. All right. So usual stuff in the chat, guys. Let me see. Okay. Usual stuff in the chat. So if you see the answer, write it down. Which aspect of the American political system was most influenced by the ideas of John Locke and Baron de Montesquieu? So if you see the answer, write it down. But is it 1, executive control of foreign policy, 2, limitations on the power of government, 3, government regulation or control, that's another word, of the economy, 4, creation of the Electoral College? What is the best answer based off of that? Bunch of 2s. Excellent. Okay. We are looking at making sure that our government has limits, it has checks, and that there's not one group that's way too powerful. Excellent. All right. So for the rest of the period, I'll just kind of get you set up with this. You have plenty of time. I'm going to share this tab now. You guys are working on lesson 7. All right. Which is, yeah, all right. You are right. I don't know why that is. That's just coincidence. That is just complete coincidence. You have, yeah, kind of suspicious. No. It's not. Don't be putting 2s when you do all the quizzes and tests. All right. You have a further reading on John Locke. Like, it's good. It's good. I could care less about the 2nd paragraph and the 3rd paragraph, but it starts to go into his foundations, his beliefs, his books, the two treatises on government, excuse me. And then it goes into some of the major influences on the American Revolution. All right. You have 4 questions you need to answer. Since it's not a lot of questions, take your time with the reading. All right. Really go through. And then you're going to answer the questions on the Google Doc. All right. So you guys are going to be working on that question here. What is a treatise? It's basically, it's a book or a novel or a written work, whatever it is. But it's usually specific to a subject. So like your textbook can be, it could be a treatises on American history. So it's just really specific to a subject. Milagros, do we have to screen? No, you do not. Today's not a day you have to screenshot your notes. There'll be other days you have to do that. Today's not one of them. All I need you to turn in is the 4 questions. Yep, Betty, that's fine. Just make sure that it's done. And yeah, you guys have the rest of the period. If you finish early and you're turned in, just say it's turned in and let me know. And then you guys can leave early if you need. And yeah, that should be it. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm going to put myself on mute. All right, concentrate. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Just write in the chat. All right, make sure it's turned in by the end. And if for some reason you can't finish the 4 questions, which I won't be mad. I'll just be disappointed in you guys. It's one of those. If for some reason you're not able to finish the 4 question or, the internet goes out, just make sure it's done by 11:59 tonight. All right, I'll be taking attendance. So if you need me, let me know. Yeah, Mohammed, I saw you did the work early. Try not to do the work early if possible, because some readings you'll need the notes to help you. I don't think this was one of those cases, but yeah, I saw you finish, so that's good. No problem. Thank you. All right, friendly check-in. You have about 10 minutes left. So hopefully this is all done. If you are done early, you could just hit turn in. Just let me know, and then you are welcome to leave early if I give it an okay. But you have about 10 minutes left. Okay, Abigail, if there's no questions, you can go. I know I see you remotely again, fourth period tomorrow. Okay, thank you, Dean. You can go. Have a great day. Yeah, Emmanuel, I must have missed it. Yes, if you are done, you can turn it in and go. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, guys. Yeah, you guys could leave. You're done. No need to stay. Just make sure you're on time for class tomorrow. Tomorrow's a very important period. All right, long lesson too, so make sure you're on time. Hi, Emma. Emma, I think I have you sixth period, not fifth period. With me, fifth and sixth.
Bye then.
Okay, Emma, I'll see you sixth. Hey, just sixth.
Not on my schedule, I have you at A1, B1, B2, B3, like a whole bunch of classes. You have the schedule up,
Yeah.
you send it?
The one up here
Yeah.
for.
See it.
Let's see. Do I have it up here?
Do you have it open?
I should.
I was just like, I'll just hop in and just do the attendance for you as I see it, you know what I mean?
So what is this? 8. Let's say D6.
Yeah, but just go to our teacher schedules and you'll see I'm there.
Oh, I don't have that one up. No, yeah, I definitely just have them because I don't have a lunch otherwise. I just taught. Sorry. Tuesday here. Taught. This is my first break. I definitely don't have them. I have lunch fifth period every day.
And I have lunch for you.
Yeah. Lucky you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Let me go back. Okay, can you send me the code for 6?
SS Panio. I sent it.
Oh, that's this time?
Mhm.
SS Daniel.
Yeah, they.
You got your summary, the rest of SS Lusitania, we have the
Yeah.
SS Daniel.
The SS is from Nazis too. It's not good, but it stands for social studies. SS used to be the secret police.
Really, the SS?
Yeah.
Oh,
So once they learn about the Holocaust, maybe they'll change it.
there you go.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to shout that out.
All right. Thanks.
SS Daniel
Yeah.
is wrong.
Crazy. All right, guys and girls. So at this point in time, we're getting to be 11:07. So if you're in 8A1 tomorrow, please make sure you're on time. If not, I'll see you fourth period. Yeah, same time tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. Just make sure you turn in when you're all done.
Mr. Panio?
Yeah,
So we're gonna be in Mr. Producer's room, not yours, right?
correct. You're gonna go to Purdue. I'm 99% sure Producer's room, but you'll find out for sure in the morning. You go up to his room, you go sit in a seat, and you sit there for the entire day, unfortunately. But yeah, you're not moving classes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Right at the end, Tanya. Nice job. Thank you. Have a good day, guys. Thank you. I just came off. Yeah, no, I'm good. What's up?